In Ramallah, many Palestinians were marching in support of Hamas military's operation. Nida Ibrahim is there in the occupied West Bank.
Some of the chants in the protest here that has been walking in the streets of Ramallah are calling for national unity, for Palestinian factions to reunite and launch more attacks against Israeli targets. We're hearing Palestinians here also praising Hamas, saying that Israel only understands the language of force. People here were telling me that they feel that they've been left alone by the world and that they only have themselves to rely on if they were looking to free themselves from the continuous decades-long Israeli military occupation. All in all, in the occupied West Bank, we've seen Palestinians observe a general strike where businesses have shut down, and people are still worried about their people and families and friends in the besieged Gaza Strip, afraid of the Israeli retaliation. But some of them were telling me that Israel already has been bombarding Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip. Also here in the occupied West Bank, as Palestinians have laid to rest some of those who have been killed by Israeli forces, we've seen Israeli military close down the Palestinian towns, basically isolating them from one another. Also, the only link for Palestinians here in the occupied West Bank with the outside world, with Jordan, the Allenby Bridge, has been shut down by Israel. So that gives you an idea that even if the situation is considered relatively calm, the tension is still brewing. Nida Ibrahim, Al Jazeera, Ramallah, the occupied West Bank.
Let's bring in Diana Buttu now, who's a lawyer and former legal advisor to the Palestinian Liberation Organisation. She joins me live from Haifa. Diana, thanks so much for being on the program. As we've been reporting, Israel's Knesset has just declared the nation is officially at war. Does that change anything?
No, not for Palestinians. Look, I think it's important for this to be put in its proper context. Palestinians have been living under an Israeli military dictatorship now for more than 56 years. And the images that we're seeing today in Israel are the same things that we Palestinians have been living with each and every day for the past 56 years. Israel has never held back when it comes to the use of force. And all that it wants to do now is somehow show that it's entered into a different phase when it comes to Palestinians, it's always had the gloves off. It's never had any restraints, and the world has never forced Israel to place any blocks, any barriers, anything to the way in which it deals with Palestinians. This is why we're in this situation today. This is a colossal failure on the part of the international community, which has allowed Israel to continue this brutal occupation for the past 56 years without any accountability.
That brings me to my next question about the international community. We're expecting the United Nations Security Council to hold an emergency meeting in the coming hours. What, if anything, can the nations that are a part of that do to de-escalate this situation?
I would hope first and foremost that they would hold up a mirror to themselves and be blaming themselves. Look, this is an occupation in which Israel is occupying Palestine. It's up to the world community to put pressure on Israel to end that occupation. It can do so by declaring war. It can do so by putting sanctions on Israel. It's got a number of different tools in its hands. It has failed to do so for these 56 years. And what Israel has yet to understand is that it will never have peace as long as another people have been denied their freedom, as long as Palestinians are still languishing in refugee camps. What's very interesting about all of this is that back in 1956, one of the Israeli ministers, chief of staff of the army, Moshe Dayan, expressly stated that Israel should never be angry with with any reprisal attacks that Palestinians conduct against them, because it is Israel that has forced Palestinians into refugee camps. So going back to the UN, it should be looking at itself and asking itself why it is that after 75 years, Palestinians are still in refugee camps waiting to go home. Why it is that after 56 years, we still live under a brutal military occupation. And it's because they have failed in their job.
Were you surprised by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's show of solidarity to Israel, which is the occupying force in this instance?
Not at all. You know, he has previously stood by Israel. He came to the Knesset and indicated that he was Israel and that Russia was Hamas. He's done this time and time again. So I'm not at all surprised by his reaction. What does surprise me, however, is that people are surprised that this actually took place. Again, we may be surprised by the magnitude of it. But after 56 years of every day being abused by Israel, it should come as no surprise. And I think that we should never, ever underestimate the desire and will of people to be free.
How likely do you think it is that this could spill over into a wider conflict, particularly after Hezbollah's strikes from Lebanon today targeting 3 Israeli military positions?
Well, that remains to be seen. I think a lot of it depends on what Israel's next steps are. Israel's already openly talking about a massacre in Gaza. In fact, has already perpetrated one. They're saying to Gazans to flee, but they know that they've put them in a cage where they can't flee. They've already attacked a number of buildings. They've already indicated that they're cutting off fuel, electricity, and water supplies. These are lifelines. This is illegal under international law. So we know what Israel is planning next. It's a question of what the rest of the region is now going to do. What I do hope happens is that at least this puts a break on some of this normalization garbage that we've been seeing over the past 3 years. The fact that Arab states are cozying up to a dictatorship and cozying up to a human rights abuser and cozying up to a country that has proven that it can't do anything when it comes to security. I hope that this now comes to an end.
Appreciate your insights. Thank you so much. Diana Buttu, a lawyer and former legal advisor to the Palestinian Liberation Organisation. Thank you. There's plenty more ahead on Al Jazeera. We'll bring you more coverage of the Gaza-Israel war. These are live pictures coming from that region. Do stay with us.